Hey guys and girls, Boardnell back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about the first two episodes of the new Dexter show. Yes, he's back once again, back from the dead it would seem. Dexter Resurrection. So this is going to be episode 1 and episode 2, my thoughts on them. Episode 1 is called A Beating Heart. Episode 2 is called Camera Shy. And I'm going to be giving my overall impressions of this new Dexter show, and I was going into this with some trepidation because I really wasn't impressed at all with the first episode of Dexter Original Sin, which debuted at the end of last year. You can go and find that review on the channel. In fact, I'll link it in this video, and once again talk about flogging a dead horse. So this opening episode and the start of this new Dexter show picks up at the end of Dexter New Blood. I hope you're keeping up if you don't follow this stuff, where Dexter effectively looked to be dead, but as revealed in Dexter Original Sin, in the very first scene, it appeared like, oh no, he might be alive because there's a heartbeat. And that's where we pick up here. So Dexter at the start has been in a coma for 10 weeks, and he's being haunted internally by ghosts from the past, which allows for a bunch of cameos. And he's still in the coma. He's wrestling whether his son Harrison needs him or whether being in Harrison's life would be more of a burden and a hindrance. You've got Harry returning once again as Dexter's dark passenger, and ultimately, because of the name of the show, Dexter is going to come out of the coma and he's going to try and become a part of his son's life. Part of Harrison's conflict is whether he's going to start living the life of his father, and he ends up killing someone himself and threatening to follow in his dad's footsteps. I'll get to that part. So it's partly that, and it's partly Dexter starting a new life in New York City with a new kill on the loose who is mimicking Dexter's past crimes, and that becomes the setup, a very familiar setup. And just to sum up some of my thoughts over the two episodes, this was a very tedious plotting couple of episodes where it was really going through the motions. You could see Michael C. Hall really going through the motion. It just strikes me that he is just here for a paycheck, and it's just not putting the full effort in. Like, the full Dexter Morgan is not at home anymore. Once again, we get some lazy stuff with him and his dad back as the dark, I almost said the Dark Destroyer, the dark passenger. This stuff is now getting very repetitive, and just how they pad these episodes out, and just how sluggish they are, and how convoluted the plotting gets is just really something to behold. So I'm going to go through it, because the opening episode, as I said, it's really setting things up, and it's split between Dexter at the hospital in the coma, slowly coming out of it and deciding to return to his own old life, trying to help his son, and Harris picking up with Harrison 10 weeks on. So before the premiere, there was all these cameos teased where it was a big nostalgia fest where they would bring back all these different people who have been a part of the Dexter show over the years. So it was announced that John Lithgow would have a cameo as Trinity. It would be announced Jimmy Smits would return. Also, Sergeant Dokes, that actor, was coming back. And this was totally predictable, because I didn't see any way how they were going to bring all these people back from the dead. So it seemed pretty obvious that they would be in Dexter's head, and it seems to be hitting the nostalgia Burton's big time in these cameos. So yes, they're all appearing in his head as ghosts. So predictable and lame. I mean, in some ways it's the lesser of two evils, I guess, but yeah, I really could have seen that one coming. And they rush through this stuff. It's like a greatest hits of Dexter, almost his past. But the Trinity cameo is an example of like the worst offender of this, where they actually revisit Rita in the bathtub from the end of season 4, which is one of the most powerful scenes in all of Dexter. It was one of the great cliffhangers or dramatic like gut punches of the show. It probably is the biggest like twist the show ever pulled off, and I think for many at the time it felt like, okay, that might have been the perfect way to have ended it all. So just to revisit that in a very cheap way, just for nostalgia here, with very little actually meaning behind it, I think it just cheapens the whole scene. And it's not the first scene that they use a lame excuse just to bring back in like a flashback where it's just shoehorned in. There are other big scenes from the show's past, and you get a whole conversation with Dexter and Trinity where Dexter is blaming him for the way Harrison might be turning out. Trinity is saying, it's not my fault, you're finding out, then it's very hard to have it both, as both a father and a serial killer. The Dokes one is especially like just lame, where they just get him back for like the catchphrases, like almost a nostalgic punchline. Like I said, maybe the lesser of two evils in some ways, but they all seem to be back. They all seem really to back up Harry's side of things, where they're encouraging Dexter. Then yes, you've got a son. Harrison needs you in his life. So it's all pretty cheap and lame. We find out that Dexter's ex-girlfriend has left town. She's the one who looked like Deb. No sign of Deb so far in this show. But she left town with her daughter after the events of Dexter New Blood, having taken the blame for Harrison's shooting of Dexter. So that's fine. I've got no problem with that. That does make sense. Although it's just another reason why Dexter gets to keep his innocent name and pin it on someone else. Once again, that's my only issue with it. But it's a fair enough way to write her out and move on from that. Dexter is weirdly asked if he wants to sue over it. What the fuck? He surprises. He says no, there's no need. He's happy to move on. So there's so many dumb things in these first two episodes to tie up to something again which New Blood left bizarrely hanging. Batista is in fact in town at the start of this, so we get Angel Batista meeting up with Dexter for the first time in all these years, and he's already very suspicious that Dexter may be the Bay Harbor butcher. So there's a lot of question marks here, because he's there when Dexter comes out of his coma. He shows up to question him. But are you really telling me that Angel has been waiting in town for 10 weeks for Dexter to come out of this coma? Come on, show. Doesn't he have a job to get back to? Aren't they missing him? Can he really take 10 weeks off? I mean, I think he said he was chief of police or something, but even so, I mean, he's got superiors to answer for. What are you playing at, man? Also, how did he even know Dexter would come out of the coma? He was taking a gamble there. What a muppet. He questions Dexter, but he is still unsure if he's guilty, despite all the evidence against Dexter. Come on, Angel, get with it. Why would he pretend to be dead and go on the run in the first place? That's just one of the many questions Angel should be asking himself. Dexter's lame way of sneaking out and distracting Batista fleeing the hospital is also so dumb. It makes Batista look like a complete fool and incompetent. Yes, conveniently, Dexter hears on the news that a serial or then a killer has been using the Bay Harbour butcher method, his MO of cutting the body into 7 different slices. So, conveniently, I'll get to who it is in a moment, but I'll tell you, it's Harrison, basically. So, conveniently, he uses Pop's method of cutting people, and that alerts Dexter on the news, and that's why he finds this reason to sneak out and go and find Harrison. Now, when talking to a local cop later on, Angel says there's nothing more he can do and leaves town, telling the local guy, "Call me if you pick up Dexter's truck." Now, he's been there for 10 weeks as it is. Surely he wouldn't just wait around a bit longer. I mean, he might as well at this point. Oh, suddenly he decides there's nothing more he can do. He'll go back to Miami, will he? It's all or nothing with this guy. By the way, Dexter's latest disappearance should confirm to Angel then he is indeed guilty. I don't know what other signs Angel needs. The only sensible move would be for Angel to bring Dexter to justice come the end of the season, but I wouldn't bet on it, folks. So let's get into the Harrison side of the plot here, because they've got the actor back and he's a very bland actor. I really wish they had recast him. I know they were talking about a Harrison spin-off at one point, but I'm guessing they just weren't confident he would be able to lead his own spin-off, so he's back for this. He at least looks a lot like Dexter's son, so that's one way they got the casting right, but the actor is very bland and kind of annoying. And some of this really doesn't ring true, so even though it's only been 10 weeks since he shot his dad, he's already moved on, it seems, in many ways. So he's working at a hotel, and apart from flashes of the incident, he seems to be just acting normally. It seems to me like 10 weeks is a little bit too soon to be moving on. So he's getting on with this girl who he works with, who he babysits for because she's a single parent. And that's fine, she seems likeable enough, although it's heading down a very familiar path, I'm guessing, because I think she's gonna maybe be in danger of finding out what's been happening with Harrison and getting caught in the crosshairs, a bit like his girlfriend. I think it was Audrey from last. Following in Daddy's footsteps, Harrison viciously kills a rapist at the hotel. So contrived. A couple of detectives starts investigating that crime, which could lead at Harrison in trouble. The detectives are super boring. One of them looks a bit like ex-footballer David Ginola.
It works hard to give my hair what it needs.
L'Oreal has created Ceramide R, which penetrates the hair, rebuilding its strength from within.
For stronger, thicker, healthy-looking hair. Go on, wash the strength back in.
But there's too much going on with too many characters involved, and that's before we even get to the special guest star of the season, or one of them at least. There's still a couple more to come, but Uma Thurman, who's the big guest star of the opening 2 episodes, so she swaggers into town as the cool specialised FBI agent from out of town, and she's given the red right hand guest star treatment, so I guess that means she's hot shit. She at least is semi-cool, and you could sort of see them try and push him for a spin-off maybe with her, but there's a good chance she'll be offed before the end of the season. I'm not quite sure who she's in town to investigate, to be honest, but she too has her own bit of drama as a mystery man shows up, threatening to expose her. She points out he's a serial killer, So she can expose him and she knocks him out. Do we really need this added drama to her character, her having a secret dark past? I'm not sure we really do. If I had to guess, maybe I'm going to guess she's going to be an adversary for Dexter over the course of the season. So there could be some fun to that. Like, Uma Thurman is one of the more lively things about these 2 episodes. And that's before we even get to a lot of the drama of episode 2 in New York, which sees Dexter move to the Big Apple to be nearer to Harrison. He takes a job as a cabbie because, of course, he does, befriending an immigrant cabbie whose friend was attacked and nearly killed by a new serial killer going by the name the Bay Harbor Butcher. Dexter saying I should have trademarked that name was one of the better lines of the 2 episodes. Dexter starts investigating, and conveniently the dashboard footage is blurring the man's face. Something to do with an infrared tech or something like that. A guest explains to Dexter at a party. I'll take her word for it, I guess. It's all very convenient. We do see the killer at one point, and he is indeed doing a gravelly Michael C. Hall impression and looks quite a lot like him. Of course he does, because why not? So the taxi driver who befriended Dexter is also a walking, talking, smiling stereotype, thinking Dexter technically is from out of town and new, and that's kind of how they kind of hit it off, partly because this guy also feels a bit of an outsider. Welcome to New York, brother. Harry, for some reason, hints that Dexter should take the basement room offered him because it's private. Wait a minute, Harry. What the fuck are you suggesting? The tedious mystery will go on next week. Thanks everyone for listening. Let me know what you think of these 2 episodes, the 2 debut episodes of Dexter Resurrection, and what are you expecting from the show in general. Like and subscribe as always. You can support me as a channel member or on patreon.com/borednow. Keep watching TV. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.